Yom Kippur was the only day of the year that the high priest was allowed to enter into the Holy of Holies in the temple. Entering this most holy space was as physically dangerous as it was spiritually fulfilling. If the high priest was not an appropriate, upstanding, righteous individual, he would expire from the experiment. For him, walking into that holy room could have been suicide. In fact, historically, unfortunately, many high priests, due to their unfit character or something done wrong during the incense offering, did not make it out alive. The Mishna teaches in Tractate Yoma, chapter 5, Mishna 1, that after doing the necessary service, the high priest recites a very brief prayer in the outer chamber, and he would not extend his prayer so as not to alarm the Jewish people who would otherwise conclude that something happened and that he died in the Holy of Holies. From the moment he walked in, everyone was waiting with bated breath to see if he would emerge. If the high priest was morally upstanding and of pure character, then in addition to maintaining his life, through his focused service on this day, he would effectuate God's forgiveness on behalf of himself, his family, and the entire Jewish nation. These are two separate reasons for joy, and it helps us understand two versions of the following Mishnah. It's taught in the Mishnah Tractate Yoma, chapter 7, Mishnah 4. At the conclusion of the high priest's service in the holy temple, he entered to burn the afternoon incense and removed the ashes from the menorah lamps, which signifies the end of the day's service. He then removed his holy garments and immersed in the mikveh. He ascended from the mikveh and dried himself. They then brought him his own clothing and he got dressed. And the people would escort him to his house, and he would make a big feast for his loved ones when he emerged in peace from the sanctuary. Some versions of the Mishnah conclude with a slight difference. And he would make a big feast for his loved ones on account of his having emerged in peace from the sanctuary. One version has the Hebrew words Bisha Sheyatza, when he emerged. The other version has the Hebrew words Al Sheyatza, on account of his emerging. These two versions may depend on the reasoning behind the great feast. Was it to celebrate his personal safety, just the fact that he made it out alive from such a potential dangerous place? Or was it to celebrate the fact that the Jewish nation had been forgiven and given a clean slate? His laser-focused service achieved the desired results. If it was the latter, then it makes sense to have a feast right when he got home in the evening after a successful day's work. That would be Bisha, when he emerged. If the reason is the former, for his personal safety, then it was more like a personal Thanksgiving feast, and would have likely been combined with a Thanksgiving offering, which could only be offered the next day in the temple. So the Mishnah should read, Al Sheyatza B'Shalom. The feast was on account of his peaceful emergence, although the feast was actually the next day. We can learn a very valuable lesson from both versions, for they are both correct. It is incumbent upon us to make a feast to thank God both for our great successes, as well it's incumbent upon us to make a feast to thank God when we are saved from times of great distress and danger. Nowadays, it's common to give a Kiddush in shul, and this is most appropriate. People often ask me, what would be an appropriate reason to sponsor a Kiddush? Well, this week's Parsha gives us part of the answer. It can be a birthday, a good week at work, an anniversary, a child's birth, a birthday, recovering from an injury, surviving an accident, being saved from any potential harm. These are just some examples of when it is appropriate. But it's not only for our material successes and salvation that we need to give a Kiddush. We are to make a celebratory feast for our spiritual successes as well, and even for our spiritual salvations. When we resolve to do a mitzvah and we keep the resolution, we must make a feast and celebrate. When we are saved from a potential spiritual pitfall, we must thank Hashem too. May Hashem bless us all with many, many reasons to celebrate. I wish you a good Shabbos.